Descriptive sketches William Wordsworth were there, below, a spot of holy ground where from distress a refuge might be found, and solitude prepare the soul for heaven. Sure, nature's God that spot to man had given, where falls the purple morning far and wooden flakes of light upon the mountain side, where with loud voice the power of water shakes the leafy wood, or sleeps in quiet lakes. Yet not unrecompensed the man shall roam, who at the call of summer quits his home, and plods through some wide realm o'er vale and height, though seeking only holiday delight. At least, not owning to himself an aim to which the sage would give a prouder name. No gains too cheaply earned his fancy cloy, though every passing zephyr whispers joy. Brisk toil, alternating with ready ease, feeds the clear current of his sympathies. For him sweat seats the cottage door adorn, and peeps the far-off spire, his evening born. Dear is the forest frowning o'er his head, and dear the velvet greensward to his tread. Moves there a cloud o'er midday's flaming eye. Upward he looks and quo, and calls it luxury, ampersand quo. Kind nature's charities his steps attend. In every babbling brook he finds a friend, while chastening thoughts of sweetest use, bestowed by wisdom, moralize his pensive road. Host of his welcome in the noontide bower, to his spare meal he calls the passing poor. He views the sun uplift his golden fire, or sink, with heart alive like Memnon's lyre. Blesses the moon that comes with kindly ray, to light him shaken by his rugged way. Back from his side no bashful children steal. He sits a brother at the cottage meal. His humble looks no shy restraint impart. Around him plays at will the virgin heart. While unsuspended wheels the village dance, the maidens eye him with inquiring glance, much wondering by what fit of crazing care, or desperate love, bewildered, he came there. A hope, that prudence could not then approve, that clung to nature with a truant's love, o'er gallious wastes of corn my footsteps led. Her files of rhodelms, high above my head in long-drawn vista, rustling in the breeze. Or where her pathways straggle as they please by lonely farms and secret villages. But lo! The Alps ascending white in air, toy with the sun and glitter from afar. And now, emerging from the forest's gloom, I greet thee, Chartreuse, while I mourn thy doom. Whither is fled that power whose frown severe awed sober reason till she crouched in fear? That silence, once in death like fetters bound, chains that were loosened only by the sound of holy rites chanted and measured round? The voice of blasphemy the fane alarms, the cloister startles at the gleam of arms. The thundering tube the aged angler hears, bent o'er the groaning flood that sweeps away his tears. Cloud-piercing pine trees nod their troubled heads, spires, rocks, and lawns a browner night o'erspreads. Strong terror checks the female peasant's sighs, and start the astonished shades at female eyes. From Bruno's forest screams the affrighted jay, and slow the insulted eagle wheels away. A viewless flight of laughing demons mock the cross, by angels planted on the aerial rock. The and quo, parting genius and quo, sighs with hollow breath along the mystic streams of life and death. Swelling the outcry dull, that long resounds portentous through her old wood's trackless bounds, Valumbra, mid her falling fans, deplores, forever broke, the Sabbath of her bowers. More pleased, my foot the hidden margin roofs of Como, bosomed deep in chestnut groves. No meadows thrown between, the giddy steeps tower, bare or sylvan, from the narrow deeps. To towns, whose shades of no rude noise complain, from ringing team apart and grating wane to flat-roofed towns, that touch the water's bound, or lurk in woody sunless glens profound, or, from the bending rocks, obtrusive cling, and o'er the whitened wave their shadows fling the pathway leads, as round the steeps it twines. And silence loves its purple roof of vines. The loitering traveler hence, at evening, sees from rock-hewn steps the sail between the trees. Or marks, mid-opening cliffs, fair dark-eyed maids tend the small harvest of their garden glades. Or stops the solemn mountain shades to view stretch o'er the pictured mirror broad and blue, and track the yellow lights from steep to steep, as up the opposing hills they slowly creep. Aloft, here, half a village shines, arrayed in golden light, half hides itself in shade, while, from amid the darkened roofs, the spire, restlessly flashing, seems to mount like fire, zero there, all unshaded, blazing forests throw rich golden verdure on the lake below. Slow glides the sail along the illumined shore, and steals into the shade the lazy oar. Soft bosoms breathe around contagious sighs, and amorous music on the water dies. How blessed, delicious scene! The eye that greets thy open beauties, or thy lone retreats, beholds the unwearied sweep of wood that scales thy cliffs, the endless waters of thy vales, thy lowly cots that sprinkle all the shore, each with its household boat beside the door, thy torrents shooting from the clear blue sky, thy towns, that cleave, like swallows' nests, on high, that glimmer hoar in eve's last light, descried dim from the twilight water's shaggy side, whence lutes and voices down the enchanted woods steal, and compose the o'er-forgotten floods. The lake, that, streaked or dappled, blue or gray, mid smoking woods gleams hid from morning's ray slow traveling down the western hills, to enfold its green-tinged margin in a blaze of gold. Thy glittering steeples, whence the matin bell calls forth the woodman from his desert cell, and quickens the blithe sound of hours that pass along the steaming lake, to early mass. But now farewell to each and all, adieu to every charm, and last and chief to you, ye lovely maidens that in noontide shade rest near your little plots of wheaten glade. To all that binds the soul in powerless trance, lip-dewing song, and ringlet-tossing dance, where sparkling eyes and breaking smiles illume the sylvan cabin's lute-enlivened gloom. Alas! The very murmur of the streams breathes o'er the failing soul voluptuous dreams, while slavery, forcing the sunk mind to dwell on joys that might disgrace the captive's cell, her shameless timbrel shakes on Como's march, and lures from bay to bay the vocal barge. Yet are thy softer arts with power endued to soothe and cheer the poor man's solitude. By silent cottage doors, the peasant's home left vacant for the day, I love to roam. But once I pierced the mazes of a wood in which a cabin undeserted stood. There an old man in olden measure scanned on a rude viol touched with withered hand. As lambs orphans in April clustering lie under a hoary oak's thin canopy, stretched at his feet, with steadfast upward eye, his children's children listened to the sound. A hermit with his family around. But let us hence, for fair Locarno smiles embowered in walnut slopes and citron isles, or seek at eve the banks of Tusa's stream, where, mid dim towers and woods, her waters gleam. From the bright wave, in solemn gloom, retire the dull red steeps, and, darkening still, aspire to where afar rich orange lustres glow round undistinguished clouds, and rocks, and snow, or, led where Viamala's chasms confine the indignant waters of the infant Rhine, hang o'er the abyss, whose else impervious gloom his burning eyes with fearful light illume. The mind condemned, without reprieve, to go o'er life's long deserts with its charge of woe, with sad congratulation joins the train, where beasts and men together o'er the plain move on a mighty caravan of pain, hope, strength, and courage, social suffering brings, freshening the wilderness with shades and springs. There be whose lot far otherwise is cast, sole human tenant of the piney waste, by choice or doom a gypsy wanders here, a nursling babe her only comforter. Lo, where she sits beneath yon shaggy rock, a cowering shape half hid in curling smoke. When lightning among clouds and mountains knows predominates, and darkness comes and goes, and the fierce torrent, at the flash's broad starts, like a horse, beside the glaring road she seeks a covert from the battering shower in the roofed bridge. The bridge, ere that dread hour, itself all trembling at the torrent's power. Nor is she more at ease on some still night, when not a star supplies the comfort of its light. Only the waning moon hangs dull and red above a melancholy mountain's head, then sets. In total gloom the vagrant sighs, stoops her sick head, and shuts her weary eyes. Or on her fingers counts the distant clock, or, to the drowsy crow of midnight cock, listens, or quakes while from the forest gulf howls near and nearer yet the famished wolf. From the green vale of earth serene smooth and wide descend we now, the maddened ruse our guide. By rocks that, shutting out the blessed day, cling tremblingly to rocks as loose as they. By cells upon whose image, while he prays, zero the kneeling peasant scarcely dares to gaze. By many a votive death cross planted near, and watered duly with the pious tear, that faded silent from the upward eye, unmoved with each rude form of peril nigh, fixed on the anchor left by him who saves alike in whelming snows and roaring waves. But soon a peopled region on the side depends a little world of calm delight, where mists, suspended on the expiring gale, spread roof-like o'er the deep secluded vale, and beams of evening slipping in between, gently illuminate a sober scene. Here, on the brown wood cottages they sleep, there, over rock or sloping pasture creep. On as we journey, in clear view displayed, the still vale lengthens underneath its shade of low-hung vapor. On the freshened mead the green light sparkles. The dim bowers recede, while pastoral pipes and streams the landscape lull, and bales of passing mules that tinkle dull, in solemn shapes before the admiring eye dilated hang the misty pines on high, huge convent domes with pinnacles and towers, and antique castles seen through gleamy showers. From such romantic dreams, my soul, awake to sterner pleasure, where, by Uri's lake and nature's pristine majesty outspread, whence neither road nor path for foot to tread, the rocks rise naked as a wall, or stretch far o'er the water, hung with groves of beech. Aerial pines from loftier steeps ascend, nor stop but where creation seems to end. Yet here and there, if mid the savage scene appears a scanty plot of smiling green, up from the lake a zigzag path will creep to reach a small wood hut hung boldly on the steep. Before those thresholds never can they know the face of traveler passing to and fro. No peasant leans upon his pole, to tell for whom at morning tore the funeral bell. Their watchdog ne'er his angry bark forgoes, touched by the beggar's moan of human woes. The shady porch ne'er offered a cool seat to pilgrims overcome by summer's heat. Yet thither the world's business finds its way at times, and tales unsought beguile the day. And there are those fond thoughts which solitude, however stern, is powerless to exclude. There doth the maiden watch her lover's sail approaching, and upbraid the tardy gale. At midnight listens till his parting o'er, and its last echo can be heard no more. And what if ospreys, cormorants, herons, cry amid tempestuous vapors driving by, or hovering over wastes too bleak to rear that common growth of earth, the foodful ear, where the green apple shrivels on the spray, and pines the unripened pear in summer's kindliest ray. Contentment shares the desolate domain with independence, child of high disdain. Exulting mid the winter of the skies, shy as the jealous chamois, freedom flies, and grasps by fits her sword, and often eyes. And sometimes, as from rock to rock she bounds, the patriot nymph starts at imagined sounds, and, wildly pausing, oft she hangs aghast, whether some old Swiss air hath checked her haste, or thrill of Spartan fife is caught between the blast. Swollen with incessant rains from hour to hour, all day the floods a deepening murmur pour, the sky is veiled, and every cheerful sight, dark as the region as with coming night. But what a sudden burst of overpowering light! Triumphant on the bosom of the storm, glances the wheeling eagle's glorious form. Eastward, in long perspective glittering, shine the wood-crowned cliffs that o'er the lake recline. Those lofty cliffs 100 streams unfold, at once to pillars turned that flame with gold. Behind his sail the peasant shrinks, to shun the west, that burns like one dilated sun, a crucible of mighty compass, felt by mountains, glowing till they seem to melt. But, lo! the boatman, overawed, before the pictured fane of Tell suspends his oar. Confused the Marathonian tale appears, while his eyes sparkle with heroic tears. And who, that walks where men of ancient days have wrought with godlike arm the deeds of praise, feels not the spirit of the place control, or rouse and agitate his laboring soul? Say, who, by thinking on Canadian hills, or wild Aosta lulled by Alpine rills, on Zutphen's plain, or on that highland dell, through which rough Gary cleaves his way, can tell what high resolves exalt the tenderest thought of him whom passion rivets to the spot, where breathed the gale that caught Wolfe's happiest sigh, and the last sunbeam fell on Baird's eye. Zero where bleeding Sydney from the cup retired, and glad Dundee in and quo. Faint Hughes and quo. Expired? But now with other mind I stand alone upon the summit of this naked cone, and watch the fearless chamois hunter chase his prey, through tracts abrupt of desolate space, through vacant worlds where nature never gave a brook to murmur or a bough to wave, which unsubstantial phantoms sacred keep. Through worlds where life, and voice, and motion sleep, where silent hours their death-like sway extend, save when the avalanche breaks loose, to rend its way with uproar, till the ruin, drowned in some dense wood or gulf of snow profound, mocks the dull ear of time with deaf abortive sound. 'Tis haze, while wandering on from height to height, to see a planet's pomp and steady light in the least star of scarce appearing night, while the pale moon moves near him, on the bound of ether, shining with diminished round, and far and wide the icy summits blaze, rejoicing in the glory of her rays. To him the day star glitters small and bright, shorn of its beams, insufferably white, and he can look beyond the sun, and view those fast receding depths of sable blue flying till vision can no more pursue. At once bewildering mists around him close, and cold and hunger are his least of woes. The demon of the snow, with angry roar descending, shuts for aye his prison door. Soon with despair's whole weight his spirits sink. Bread has he none, the snow must be his drink. And, ere his eyes can close upon the day, the eagle of the Alps o'ershades her prey. Now couch thyself where, heard with fear afar, thunders through echoing pines the headlong air. Or rather stay to taste the mild delights of pensive Underwalden's pastoral heights. Is there who mid these awful wilds has seen the native genie walk the mountain green? Or heard, while other worlds their charms reveal, soft music o'er the aerial summit steal? While o'er the desert, answering every close, rich steam of sweetest perfume comes and goes. And sure there is a secret power that reigns here, where no trace of man the spot profanes, not but the chalets, flat and bare, on high suspended mid the quiet of the sky, or distant herds that pasturing upward creep, and, not untended, climb the dangerous steep. How still! No religious sound or sight rouses the soul from her severe delight. An idle voice the Sabbath region fills of deep that calls to deep across the hills, and with that voice accords the soothing sound of drowsy bells, forever tinkling round. Faint wail of eagle melting into blue beneath the cliffs, and pine woods steady sue. The solitary heifers deep and low, or rumbling, heard remote, of falling snow. All motions, sounds, and voices, far and nigh, blend in a music of tranquility. Save when, a stranger seen below, the boy shouts from the echoing hills with savage joy. When, from the sunny breast of open seas, and bays with myrtle fringed, the southern breeze comes on to gladden April with the sight of green isles widening on each snow-clad height. When shouts and lowing herds the valley fill, and louder torrents stun the noontide hill, the pastoral Swiss begin the cliffs to scale, leaving to silence the deserted vale. And like the patriarchs in their simple age move, as the verger leads, from stage to stage, high and more high in summer's heat they go, and hear the rattling thunder far below. Or steal beneath the mountains, half deterred, where huge rocks tremble to the bellowing herd. One I behold who, cross the foaming flood, leaps with a bound of graceful hardihood. Another, high on that green ledge, he gained the tempting spot with every sinew strained, and downward thence a knot of grass he throws, food for his beasts in time of winter snows. Far different life from what tradition or transmits of happier lot in times of yore. Then summer lingered long, and honey flowed from out the rocks, the wild bees' safe abode, continual waters welling cheered the waste, and plants were wholesome, now of deadly taste, nor winter yet his frozen stores had piled, usurping where the fairest herbage smiled, nor hunger driven the herds from pastures bare, to climb the treacherous cliffs for scanty fare. Then the milk thistle flourished through the land, and forced the full swoln udder to demand, thrice every day, the pale and welcome hand. Thus does the father to his children tell of banished bliss, by fancy loved too well. 0 Alas! That human guilt provoked the rod of angry nature to avenge her God. Still, nature, ever just, to him imparts joys only given to uncorrupted hearts. 'Tis morn, with gold a verdant mountain glows more high, the snowy peaks with hues of rose. Far stretched beneath the many-tinted hills, a mighty waste of mist the valley fills, a solemn sea, whose billows wide around stand motionless, to awful silence bound. Pines, on the coast, through mist their tops uprear, that like to leaning mass of stranded ships appear. A single chasm, a gulf of gloomy blue, gapes in the center of the sea, and, through that dark mysterious gulf ascending, sound innumerable streams with roar profound. Mount through the nearer vapors notes of birds, and mere flageolet. The low of herds, the bark of dogs, the heifer's tinkling bell, talk, laughter, and perchance a church tower knell. Think not, the peasant from aloft has gazed and heard with heart unmoved, with soul unraised, nor is his spirit less enwrapped, nor less alive to independent happiness, than, when he lies, outstretched, at eventide upon the fragrant mountain's purple side, for as the pleasures of his simple day beyond his native valley seldom stray, not round its darling precincts can he find but brings some past enjoyment to his mind, while hope, reclining upon pleasure's urn, binds her wild wreaths, and whispers his return. Once, man entirely free, alone and wild, was blessed as free, for he was nature's child. He, all superior but his God disdained, walked none restraining, and by none restrained confessed no law but what his reason taught, did all he wished, and wished but what he ought. As man in his primeval dowry the image of his glorious sire displayed, even so, by faithful nature guarded, here the traces of primeval man appear. The simple dignity no forms debase. The eye sublime, and surly lion grace, the slave of none, of beasts alone the lord, his book he prizes, none neglects his sword. Well taught by that to feel his rights, prepared with this end quo. The blessings he enjoys to guard. Amperson quo. And, as his native hills encircle ground for many a marvelous victory renowned, the work of freedom daring to oppose, with few in arms, innumerable foes, when to those famous fields his steps are led, an unknown power connects him with the dead, for images of other worlds are there. Awful the light, and holy is the air. Fitfully, and in flashes, through his soul, like sunlit tempests, troubled transports roll. His bosom heaves, his spirit towers amain, beyond the senses in their little reign. And oft, when that dread vision hath passed by, he holds with God himself communion high, there where the peal of swelling torrents fills the sky-roofed temple of the eternal hills. Or when, upon the mountain's silent brow reclined, he sees, above him and below, bright stars of ice and azure fields of snow, while needle peaks of granite shooting bare tremble in ever-varying tints of air. And when a gathering weight of shadows brown falls on the valleys as the sun goes down, and pikes, of darkness named in fear and storms, uplift in quiet their illumined forms, and sea-like reach of prospect round him spread, tinged like an angel's smile all rosy-red awe in his breast with holiest love unites, and the near heavens impart their own delights. When downward to his winter hut he goes, dear and more dear the lessening circle grows, that hut which on the hills so oft employs his thoughts, the central point of all his joys. And as a swallow, at the hour of rest, peeps often ere she darts into her nest, so to the homestead, where the grandsire tends a little prattling child, he oft descends, to glance a look upon the well-matched pair, till storm and driving ice blockade him there. There, safely guarded by the woods behind, he hears the chiding of the baffled wind, hears winter calling all his terrors round, and, blessed within himself, he shrinks not from the sound. Through nature's veil his homely pleasures glide, unstained by envy, discontent, and pride. The bound of all his vanity, to deck, with one bright bell, a favorite heifer's neck. Well pleased upon some simple annual feast, remembered half the year and hope the rest, if dairy produce, from his inner hoard, of thrice 10 summers dignify the bard. Alas! In every clime a flying ray zero is all we have to cheer our wintry way. And here the unwilling mind may more than trace the general sorrows of the human race. The churlish gales of penury, that blow cold as the north wind o'er a waste of snow, to them the gentle groups of bliss deny that on the noonday bank of leisure lie. Yet more, compelled by powers which only deem that solitary men disturb their reign, powers that support an unremitting strife with all the tender charities of life, full oft the father, when his sons have grown to manhood, seems their title to disown, and from his nest amid the storms of heaven drives, eagle-like, those sons as he was driven. With stern composure watches to the plain and never, eagle-like, beholds again. When long familiar joys are all resigned, why does their sad remembrance haunt the mind? Lo! Where through flat Batavia's willowy groves, or by the lazy Seine, the exile roves, o'er the curled waters Alpine measures swell, and search the affections to their inmost cell. Sweet poison spreads along the listener's veins, turning past pleasures into mortal pains. Poison, which not a frame of steel can brave, bows his young head with sorrow to the grave. Gale arc of hope, thy silent song resume. Ye flattering eastern lights, once more the hills illume. Fresh gales and dews of life's delicious morn, and thou, lost fragrance of the heart, return. Alas! The little joy to man aloud fades like the luster of an evening cloud, or like the beauty in a flower installed, whose season was, and cannot be recalled. Yet, when oppressed by sickness, grief, or care, and taught that pain is pleasure's natural heir, we still confide in more than we can know. Death would be else the favorite friend of woe. Mid savage rocks, and seas of snow that shine, between interminable tracts of pine, within a temple stands an awful shrine, by an uncertain light revealed, that falls on the mute image in the troubled walls. Oh! Give not me that eye of hard disdain that views, undimmed, e'en Sidon's wretched fane. While ghastly faces through the gloom appear, abortive joy, and hope that works in fear. While prayer contends with silenced agony, surely in other thoughts contempt may die. If the sad grave of human ignorance bear one flower of hope, oh, pass and leave it there. The tall sun, pausing on an Alpine spire, flings o'er the wilderness a stream of fire. Now meet we other pilgrims ere the day close on the remnant of their weary way, while they are drawing toward the sacred floor where, so they fondly think, the worm shall run no more. How gaily murmur and how sweetly taste the fountains reared for them amid the waste. Their thirst they slake, they wash their toil-worn feet, and some with tears of joy each other greet. Yes, I must see you when ye first behold those holy turrets tipped with evening gold. In that glad moment will for you a sigh be heaved, of charitable sympathy. In that glad moment when your hands are pressed in mute devotion on the thankful breast. Last, let us turn to Gemini that shields with rocks and gloomy woods her fertile fields. 5 streams of ice amid her cots descend, and with wild flowers and blooming orchards blend. A scene more fair than what the Grecian feigns of purple lights and ever vernal plains. Here all the seasons revel hand in hand, mid lawns and shades by breezy rivulets fanned. They sport beneath that mountain's matchless height that holds no commerce with the summer night. From age to age, throughout his lonely bounds the crash of ruin fitfully resounds, appalling havoc. But serene his brow, where daylight lingers on perpetual snow. Glitter the stars above, and all is black below. What marvel then if many a wanderer sigh, while roars the sullen Arve in anger by, that not for thy reward, unrivaled vale, waves the ripe harvest in the autumnal gale. That thou, the slaves of slaves, art doomed to pine and droop, while no Italian arts are thine, to soothe or cheer, to soften or refine. Hail freedom! Whether it was mine to stray, with shrill winds whistling round my lonely way, on the bleak sides of Cumbria's heath-clad moors, or where dank seaweed lashes Scotland's shores, to scent the sweets of Piedmont's breathing rose, an orange gale that o'er Lugano blows. Still have I found, where tyranny prevails, that virtue languishes and pleasure fails, while the remotest hamlet's blessings share in thy loved presence known, and only there. 0 heart blessings outward treasures too which the eye of the sun peeping through the clouds can spy, and every passing breeze will testify. There, to the porch, belike with jasmine bound or woodbine wreaths, a smoother path is wound. The housewife there a brighter garden sees, where hum on busier wing her happy bees. On infant cheeks their fresher roses blow, and gray-haired men look up with livelier brow, to greet the traveler needing food and rest, housed for the night, or but a half-hour's guest. And oh, fair France! Though now the traveler sees thy 3-striped banner fluctuate on the breeze, though martial songs have banished songs of love, and nightingales desert the village grove, scared by the fife and rumbling drums' alarms, and the short thunder, and the flash of arms, that cease not till night falls, when far and nigh, sole sound, the sword prolongs his mournful cry. Yet, hast thou found that freedom spreads her power beyond the cottage hearth, the cottage door, all nature smiles, and owns beneath her eyes her fields peculiar, and peculiar skies. Yes, as I roamed where Loirette's waters glide through rustling aspens heard from side to side, when from October clouds a milder light fell where the blue flood rippled into white. Methought from every caught the watchful bird crowed with ear-piercing power till then unheard. Each clacking mill, that broke the murmuring streams, rocked the charmed thought in more delightful dreams. Chasing those pleasant dreams, the falling leaf awoke a fainter sense of moral grief. The measured echo of the distant flail wound in more welcome cadence down the vale. With more majestic course the water rolled, and ripening foliage shone with richer gold. But foes are gathering, Liberty must raise red on the hills her beacon's far-seen blaze. Must bid the tocsin ring from tower to tower. Nearer and nearer comes the trying hour. Rejoice, brave land, though pride's perverted ire arouse hell's own aid, and wrap thy fields in fire. Lo, from the flames a great and glorious birth. As if a new-made heaven were hailing a new earth. All cannot be, the promise is too fair for creatures doomed to breathe terrestrial air, yet not for this will sober reason frown upon that promise, nor the hope disown. She knows that only from high aims ensue rich guerdons, and to them alone are due. Great God, by whom the strifes of men are weighed in an impartial balance, give thine aid to the just cause, and, oh, do thou preside over the mighty stream now spreading wide, so shall its waters, from the heavens supplied in copious showers, from earth by wholesome springs, brood o'er the long parched lands with Nile-like wings. And grant that every sceptred child of clay who cries presumptuous, ampersand quo, here the flood shall stay, ampersand quo, may in its progress see thy guiding hand, and cease the acknowledged purpose to withstand. Or, swept in anger from the insulted shore, sink with his servile bands, to rise no more. Tonight, my friend, within this humble cot be scorn and fear and hope alike forgot in timely sleep. And when, at break of day, on the tall peaks the glistening sunbeams play, with the light heart our course we may renew, the first whose footsteps print the mountain dew.